Shaquille O'Neal really wanted his divorce and the dissolution to be kept private. So he found a courthouse in Polk County that isn't even digital. It's all by paper. And he buried it and filed it there, and none of the media people or the press could find it. And eventually they did. But by the time they found it, so much time had passed that it didn't really have much impact. It wasn't fresh on the news.
Well, we have a very special guest with us today, Tyson Kutner. Welcome to the Goldberg Rosen Podcast show. You know, for me, this is very special because you started your legal career with us, and we're very proud of how you have progressed, and now you got your own law firm going on. So talk to us. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on the show. Always an honor to be here. And yes, you're right. This is where I got my tutelage from the Rosen boys. And it was quite an adventure, learning everything along the way, a lot of hard lessons, but they've lasted a lifetime. And yes, I'm fortunate enough to say that now I have my own practice, Kutner Personal Injury. We just celebrated a first year anniversary under the belt. And I couldn't be happier and more blessed. Thank you for having me on the show.
You know, I just got chills down my neck because you said that you got a lot of your tutelage from us, but I got to give your dad credit for being a mentor to me. It's funny how it goes full circle because
he loved you. He loved both you guys a lot, and he was happy to see me here when I got out of law school. So it was good all the way around.
Yeah, I mean, so just so everybody understands, Maurice Kutner is his footprints are still in the family law courthouse, and he's been passed for a few years now. But
more like cowboy boot footprints.
Yeah, that's all he wore was cowboy boots with his suits. It was one of his trademarks. Everybody knew him for that. And I was in the courthouse recently, and still some of the courthouse staff remembers who he was. And part of the reason is because I look just like him and sound just like him. So when I walk in, there's a strong resemblance.
What was so special about your dad, the way he negotiated, the way he loved being a lawyer? I mean, there's people who are lawyers and there's people who are just born to be lawyers. Maurice Kutner was absolutely born to be a lawyer, and he just loved the craft, loved helping people. From your perspective, growing up, being around him every day, what was that like?
He was always polishing the skill set, no matter what. And he died unfortunately at 80 years old. But up until his very last day alive, he was still working. It was his passion. It was his pleasure. And he really enjoyed taking a big, complicated situation, narrowing it down to the basic facts, and moving the case along to closure, many times taking over a case that was in existence for several years, and they've spent millions of dollars and are still at ground zero and haven't progressed in any way, shape, or form towards closure of the case. And watching him do it, and I spent a lot of time with him downtown, in the courthouse with him, and even going to visit clients at their homes, because a lot of these high-end clients, they don't want to come downtown. They want you to come to them.
Give us some names. Who did he represent in divorces?
Well, we got Louis Picardi, Jorge Mascanosa, Shaquille O'Neal, Jude Law. The list goes on for years. And he only handled about 10 or 12 cases a year. Most lawyers handle in the hundreds. So
didn't he file them in some small county?
So that was one of his. Shaquille O'Neal really wanted his divorce and the dissolution to be kept private. So he found a courthouse in Polk County that isn't even digital. It's all by paper. And he buried it and filed it there, and none of the media people or the press could find it. And eventually they did. But by the time they found it, so much time had passed that it didn't really have much impact. It wasn't fresh on the news. So, but he did that out of respect for, the privacy of the client. And it's a difficult situation that he had to try and put to rest in the easiest way possible for the client.
What I really remember about your dad is he had this presence that when he walked into the room, you didn't want to mess with him. You just did not want to mess with him. But at the same time, you knew that he had all of the respect of his opposing counsel and of the judges. So it was this delicate balance that he had. He knew, hey, he gave this aura off that I know what I'm doing, but at the same time, we can go have beers together because I have to fight for my client, but I'm always going to respect the other side.
He was very personable, and at least on 5 occasions, he would be representing the husband or the wife, and he would completely tear apart the other side. Then they go and get married again, and then they go and get a divorce, and the client would walk into Maurice's office and say, "I want you to do to this person what you did to me." And just like that, and that happened over and over again because he always taught one very valuable lesson. You don't have to raise your voice to be effective. You don't have to be aggressive to be impactful. But he would kill him with kindness. And the louder that they get, the quieter he would talk. "Why are you yelling? Are you yelling right now? Why are you yelling?" So it was, and he was an avid tennis player. And being a lawyer is a lot like playing tennis. It's a mind game, it's strategy, it's training, it's skill set. And he was a gladiator, and he really enjoyed it to the very last drop.
I think what I see in you that Maurice shared was a love for helping people. I know you love to help people, and that has translated into you just becoming an absolute monster at getting business.
Thank you.
When you worked here, we used to tell, first thing we do, we sit down with everybody, say, most important thing is you've got to generate business. You've got to let the world know that you're the right lawyer for the case. And you took it to the next level. And I think one of the craziest images I'll never forget is you went on your own and you gave a speech to a fraternity about being a personal injury lawyer.
At Florida State.
At Florida State. I mean, all of a sudden this guy's in Florida State and everybody's wearing our hats and they're screaming and yelling. I don't know how you rallied the troops like that.
Party, keg stands in the background.
How do you rally the troops like that?
I enjoy being proud. I was always very proud of being able to say that I worked here. Goldberg Rosen is a staple in the Miami community in terms of personal injury, and the reputation that this firm has precedes both of you and everybody else who's a partner here. I always wanted everybody to know what I was doing, and I reached into the different networks of people that I had developed over the years, because let's remember, I didn't go to law school till I was 33 years old. So I already had a nice network going on, but I really wanted to tap into it, and people trusted what I told them. And then I had the ability to fall back on Goldberg Rosen to make sure that as long as I brought the business in, Goldberg Rosen was going to make sure it got done and teach me how to do it along the way. So it was a fun ride. Still is.
It is.
Well, it's a blessing that when we get to have somebody like you that becomes part of our family, and we appreciated that time, and then now we're excited to see your future, and we're so excited about what you're developing, and that we still get to share in that.
That's the best part of it. I may have left here, but my heart never left. So, and both of you guys know that. And as often as we talk about cases that we're working on together, or about complex issues, or even as friendly advice, I know I can always count on you guys.
That's special, man. How about remember your 24-hour demand letters? This guy,
Mabel showed up one day, the Southeast rep for Geico, and she came with a check for, I don't know, 25 or something like that. And she was all mad, and who's this Tyson guy and all that. And thank God that one of the other associates went out and said, "Oh, look, he's new. Don't worry, it's fine." And
he's like, "I want my money now."
Today,
24 hours, the Geico's handing you a check.
Yeah, I'll never forget that one. Yeah. That was a classic.
That was a classic. We had some good times.
No, the best was watching Tyson negotiate with an adjuster.
Oof.
And he put him on speaker, and you hear him yelling from all the way across the other side of the office. That was fun.
You're an absolute bulldog when it comes to something you believe in and getting the justice that your clients need. It's special to watch. It really is. And you use everything. You use your knowledge from, like you said, growing up with your dad, and then also your career path. Tell us how you became a lawyer. How'd you end up becoming a lawyer?
So I was a mortgage banker for about, I don't know, 13 or 14 years. I was making good money and all that, but I didn't realize until I was about 32 that I hadn't maximized my potential. And I decided to bite the bullet. And I had to study twice as hard as everybody else did because, I mean, let's just face it, I wasn't that great of a student when I was in school, then having a long break after that, but I made it. And here we are today. But it was by far the biggest challenge of my life to undertake all of the new information while also supporting myself. And I'm still paying student loans till this day. And I'll never forget the day I told my dad, I said, Dad, I got some big news to tell you. He says, oh, yeah, what's that? I said, Dad, I've decided to go to law school. And he said, very proud of you, not paying for it. In the same breath, because he wanted me to have skin in the game. He wanted me, which was fine, no problem. He did everything else for me that a dad could ever do for a kid. So I bit the bullet. And I'll never forget, I called both of you and I said, guys, I'm going in. And you guys said to me, well, call me in 3 years when you get out. And it wasn't about a year and a half in that I sent over my first case to the firm, which settled in the 7 figures. That was
a good case.
It was a good case.
It was a good case.
Which actually came from my brother. So, but that was the beginning. And we're still thriving.
Still thriving. And now we're working on probably one of the biggest cases in the country together.
Oh, yeah.
And it's something that's dear to our heart for many reasons, but starting with the fact that it deals with boating. And I know you love boating like we do. Tell us about how you got that phone call about the Sea-Doo Switch.
It was about 7:30 at night on a Thursday, either Wednesday or Thursday. And a client who I had represented when I was here at this firm had called me up and told me about the tragedy and that a 14-month-old girl had been trapped under a boat for 19 minutes and lived, and she was in the hospital. Within 40 minutes of getting that call, I was on the way to Jacksonville driving. And I got there at about 3 or 4 in the morning, checked into a hotel, slept for an hour or two, and then straight to the hospital to try and help this family deal with an unimaginable tragedy. And the more that I found out about the boat and how this accident happened, I mean, when they explained to me that it flipped ass over front, in other words, the engine went over the bow. I've been a boater my whole life, and I've never seen anything of that magnitude or anything like that ever happen, not even in competing boat racing. So I knew there had to be something wrong, and I started doing some research, and then I came to find out that the boat at rest takes on water on the outside sponsons, and this is a tri-tune designed hull, meaning it has basically 3 different holes. And the 2 outside sponsons are supposed to take on water to stabilize the boat at rest. The problem is, when you go to get on plane, which means to catch speed much faster than an idle, the water is supposed to drain out, but the 2 little holes that it's supposed to drain out of are about this big. And the issue is, if the water doesn't drain out before you come to a stop again, all the water, which water weighs 7 pounds a gallon, all that water rushes to the front of the boat, therefore making it bow heavy, causing the boat to tip over. Either they didn't test it, or they tested it and knew about it and still put it into production. Either way, they have a big problem.
Terrible design. Even going at slow speeds, it creates this somersault response on a vessel that is designed and sold to people who might not have all the boating experience in the world, and it might be used to operating jet skis only. And then all of a sudden they're given this death trap that they can't control.
Well, it's not only that, it's when these people are sold the boats, they're not properly educated by the dealer as to what can happen and what precautions have to be taken. And for sure, nobody was ever told about this capsizing hazard. And even if they had, it still wouldn't have made the difference because nobody's going to know what happens until it happens. And then by that time, it's too late.
Our victories in this case are made up of these little battles that we win along the way, and then we win the war. And I think one of the first battles that we won was the battle of public opinion. We went to Jacksonville. We had our first press conference on this case. It was eye-opening for the public, but it also created a lot of responsibility and accountability with the big manufacturer, Bombardier.
So our press conference was February 6th, and just a few days later on February 18, they issued a full recall. And then that recall didn't really stick or land, and then they had to issue a second recall. So it's a double loser on every level. And no matter what they do to it, it's always still going to have issues. So it's time for those boats to come off the market.
And you can see it within the community response, right? We're getting emails once a week from people that own these Sea-Doo switches, and they are freaking out about how dangerous these vessels are and how they can't fix them.
Well, the other thing is that we've had multiple conversations with other attorneys in different states whose clients have actually passed away in this type of situation. It's not an isolated situation. It's happening all over the country and wherever else they've sold them. So it's an ongoing issue. And the goal in any case like this is to do two things: get justice for our client and to make sure that it doesn't happen to somebody else. That's the bottom line.
Got to get change.
Yeah, which is what we're doing.
Yep.
One day at a time. Not easy to go on against one of the biggest manufacturers in the world.
Well, when we know and we can prove that what they designed is dangerous and should not be on the market, there's no stopping us.
1,000%.
But it starts with the creativity of you and your desire to help this family, that you creatively imagined this case before anyone knew that it was a case. You heard about the tragedy and you imagined this case in your own mind taking place, and you understood that there was a problem with the boat. Whereas 90% of the public hears that a boat flips, they don't think there's a problem with the boat. They think there's a problem with the driver. They think the weather was bad. They think a million different things could happen. Or there's maintenance problems. There was a hole in the boat, whatever it is. But you creatively thought something is wrong. And then you came to us and we got the experts and we brought it on board. But like that type of mentality just doesn't exist in most people.
So thank you for that. And I couldn't wrap my head around when I heard the facts of the case. I just couldn't understand what was going on. I said, how does the back go over the front? Was there a large wave? None of that. It was a calm lake. It was a calm day on a river. It's not like he was going at a government cut in 8-foot seas.
Or haul over. Nothing like that. And I had to figure out a way to make this right for the family. And then when we all put our heads together, we saw what was really happening, and then we put the pedal to the metal.
We really did.
Yep.
And the second thing that you talked about, that why we handle these cases, is to bring justice for our clients.
100%.
This case, when you think about the vigil that was held outside that hospital room as this young girl, 2 years old, clung to her life.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
It was, the family's obviously grieving, and the child was on life support for more than 90 days. And during the second week that she was in the hospital, approximately 80 or 100 people were outside of the window of the hospital holding candles, saying prayers, writing letters, bringing flowers, and just trying to console this family who's only had this baby in their lives for a very short amount of time. And she's never going to be the same, no matter what. And of course they love her and embrace her, but they don't have the same person that they had before this incident happened. And the worst part is, all of this was preventable, completely preventable and foreseeable that it was going to happen.
And
so
it's a Canadian company.
Correct.
And they got as many problems in Canada as they do in the United States with these boats.
They do. And it's not just this boat that they have issues with. They have a lot of recalls and a lot of issues with manufacturing and product safety on several lines of their product. So it's not isolated, and the end is coming for them in this product.
Well, they put their profits over the safety of their customers. We've seen that. That's an age-old saying because it's true.
Yeah, profits over people.
Yeah.
Which is not the way it's supposed to be. And they're a multi-billion-dollar company, and they could have done something way in advance of all of these people getting hurt to prevent the continuation of what's going on.
It's going to be interesting when we see how much they knew. Because if they did testing, if they actually did the appropriate engineering, they knew that these boats were going to flip. They knew. It's so basic. I mean, it's something that elementary school kids are taught with a floating vessel in a little pond, right? Like the movement of water is going to trigger this boat to flip over based upon the design. They had to have known about it, and they still put this product on the market.
Weight distribution is not a complex science. If one end of something's too heavy, what's going to happen? It's going to tilt that way. And this is on the water. So when that happens, lives are at stake.
Yeah, great.
One of the most important things is holding this family's hand throughout the process, because they've never been through a situation like this. So I speak to them weekly to check up on Bianca, our client, check on them as parents, because they're going through a tragedy. And it's going to be something that they're going to be dealing with for the rest of their lives, no matter what. And she's going to need 24-hour care for the rest of her life. So we're trying to make sure that the family can get through this with their sanity and properly manage what their expectations are, to make sure that at the end of it, they know that we've done everything that we can under the law to make this right and get justice for them.
Yeah.
All right. I think we wrap it up by talking about your firm. How's the firm set up now?
The firm is set up where I'm the main attorney. I have 2 paralegals. I have a virtual assistant, and it's been going very well. As you guys know, I don't really do any kind of marketing. It's all word of mouth, which I'm blessed that even now those cases are still coming in one after the other. And I can tell you that if I hadn't learned my ways over here in this office, I wouldn't know what I was doing in my office. That I can tell you.
Well, all those headaches that we used to have in our office, now you know what we're dealing with, huh?
My word.
Well, it's a beautiful thing to watch you to continue grow, and essentially this is your second career, right? The second step in your career.
Yes.
And
We're very, very proud to support Kutner Personal Injury Law.
Thank
We
you,
want you to have nothing but success. Get all the cases you can. We know everybody that uses you as a lawyer has got a fantastic lawyer and a fighter on their team.
Thank you, guys. Pleasure being on the show.
You got it.
all right.